All rise, court is now in session. Judge Geordie back with another Diddy trial video. And I'm keeping them coming, so hit that like button, subscribe, because they're all over you like baby oil. People actually put baby oil on babies. This is totally tainted the way I look at that product. I've never tried it before. I don't know if sales have gone up or down. Let me know in the comments. Just a little refresh for you before we go into all the juicy details on what Diddy is actually charged with. Racketeering conspiracy. This is where he is coordinating with his employees to do illegal shit. For example, if Diddy told his associates to lure women to an event of his, drug them up, and then coerce them into doing a freak off, then he used those same associates to pay them off or intimidate them so they didn't tell anybody, that would demonstrate a criminal enterprise that he was the head of. The next charge is sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. This is basically manipulating people into having a freak off non-consensually by threatening violence, saying they'll ruin your career, that sort of thing. The next one is transportation to engage in prostitution. So if he arranged for a prostitute to fly from one state to another to engage in a freak off, then he provided the travel, the accommodation, and the payment to engage in the sexual act, that would basically meet the criteria for it. And the basic ones were also forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, obstruction of justice, and distribution of narcotics. It's a big old list, that, isn't it? There's a lot for them to get him on. And again, I'm going to go through a lot of the details today. And as we're going, just let me know in the comments where you see he may be vulnerable of getting nailed on any of these. Now, obviously, the main witness that we've touched on so far has been Cassie, his long-term partner of 11 years. Her accounts of what happened and why have divided the internet like nothing I can remember. It's kind of like that dress that people thought was purple and black and was it orange and white. It's almost to that level now, because on one side you've got people who are saying she's just a victim, she didn't want to do any of this, and then on the other side you've got people saying, is she really a victim? Yes, she's a victim of domestic violence, no one can deny that, but is she a co-conspirator? Was she not just a willing participant but someone who was actively involved in setting this up? And whatever your opinion is, one thing I think we can all agree on is that if she, in the event that she was a willing participant, she would have every reason to lie about that, because otherwise your head's on the fucking chopping block with him for some of this stuff. So she has every reason, if she was involved like that, to say he made me do it. 100%. I'm not saying that's the case, by the way. I always have to say that in these fucking videos. Now, in my last video, we've seen some of the cross-examination of Cassie, and we seen that she was a little more of an eager beaver to have a freak off, in her words at least, than what she'd initially made out. And you know, people were saying, well, you could easily pretend that, you know, she was sending messages like, I can't wait to freak off and how much she loves cock. She could pretend that. The point being, she didn't want to do it, and she actually just wanted to escape Diddy, but she couldn't because she was under his control. Well, a day later, the defense dropped a bit of a motherfucking bombshell, like, because after she left Diddy of her own accord, she then obviously met her now husband, and later went back to Diddy and fucked him behind her husband's back. She cheated on her husband. Her husband even FaceTimed her. Mid-shag, he's FaceTiming her, trying to check on her. She's busy getting fucking buck wild with Diddy's dick right inside of her at the same time. Like, how can he sit there and go, she's so brave. She is so brave. Like, this is the most understanding human ever created. I remember the explanation she gave, you know, for these meetings with Diddy post-breakup were closure meetings. I just wonder if she got back to her husband afterwards, still with Diddy's jizz inside of her, and he's like, so how was the closure chat? Do you feel like you're finally over the breakup yet? And she's all like, I just really needed him to know that it's over. Do you know? I just needed him to know. Yeah, that makes sense. How did he take it? Did he cry? Was he upset? Yeah, he took it hard. He took it really hard. Well, I mean, it's tough at the end of the day. If he doesn't learn to respect your boundaries, he's going to have me to deal with. And that's exactly what I said to him, yeah, as he zipped his pants. And she texted Diddy while she was with this little cowboy man over here, I'm lost without you, while she was dating him. And Diddy asked if she wanted to have a freak off for one last time. She replied that she wanted to have freak offs for the first time for the rest of our lives. Are those the words of a woman who is desperately trying to escape someone when she's got another man and she's away from him? Or does it sound like someone who thoroughly enjoyed those freak-offs, and wanted to use the idea of doing more to get back with Diddy. You let me know in the comments. I'm not even going to say anything. Just let me fucking hell, let me know. Look at his poor little face. Oh, because you know what this means, right? Like, if you are with a new guy, and women know this, and you still go back to shag the old guy, it's because the new guy isn't doing it as good as the old guy did. That's not even up for debate, and he should know that now. But no, apparently he's still saying how brave she is. The guy's a mug. Like, I'm sorry, like, he's a fucking mug. And by the way, this is before we talk about the first male escort who said she was loving it while we were doing it. Not to mention, there's another male escort we're going to get onto later. And the fact that she was the one organised them a lot of the time and saying that we should do more, even after they missed an opportunity to do one, saying, I wish we could have done one before you left. Now, don't get me wrong, she could just be a great actress. Her acting career would not suggest that. Like, I don't think she's got any Oscars, but it is possible. And we now have a detailed breakdown on how a freak off would go. Basically, it would start with Cassie talking dirty to the male escort while he stroked this shit, and Diddy watched. Cassie would basically describe to Diddy what the guy was doing in the most dirty way she could. Then came the baby oil. Lots and lots of baby oil. This would take a while because Diddy likes it heated so that it's extra shiny, and he insists on it being reapplied every few minutes so they're just glistening, right? You'd think they worked in a chip shop at the end of it. And then sometimes that would be a little much for Diddy because he would get really turned on and he'd go, y'all better slow down. It's getting too hot in here. Then came oral sex where Cassie would perform it on the man. But the key thing here was he wasn't allowed to bust too early, right? You got to stay strong here, fella. And Diddy's just sitting there the whole time directing, saying what to do the whole time. Yeah, just lick his balls. Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Keep going. Then they move on to full penetration, and this is the point where Diddy might jump in, might get a little bit hands-on with it, or he might just wait until they finish, and then he'll take Cassie in the other room. And at that point, Diddy would go on for his own length of time, quite a while by the sounds of it. Then he might just pass her back to the escort afterwards for round 2 for him. Now remember, part of the case against Diddy is that these things would go on against her consent, where she felt forced into it for one reason or another. And we do have more text messages to go through to sort of really quantify how complicit was she in this. Diddy was recommending that she go to the doctor on this one, and she replies, yeah, we did a lot. What do you mean? A lot of dicks and a lot of partying. Oh, you feel sick? I'm sorry. At least he's concerned. Now, this message was really interesting because it showed a different side and a different dynamic to their relationship. Obviously, Diddy outwardly was projecting family man. Even though he'd split up with his baby mama, Kim, he was still going on like family holidays with the kids. Cassie would be left at home. You know, the dynamic with having the baby mama on holiday with him did spark some issues and tension within the relationship. In this message, Cassie says, I've been at the edge of tears this whole week. I don't think you sympathize with my feelings. I understand you feeling like you need to protect your children, but after a while, it's like, for what? They've never known you and Kim be together unless there's something that I just don't know. They were babies when we started dating. The more the time goes by, the harder it is to understand. I'm here, ready to be that woman, and I'm in a constant fight because you won't ever allow it. This isn't what I want. I can't become that woman this way. I'm bracing myself for pictures that are going to break my heart. I think she means pictures of them out as a family on holiday. He replies, I'm gonna spend time with my kids. I'm sorry you feel that way. I won't let no pics be taken. Well, I hope you enjoy the kids, Cassie says. I don't trust that after the type of sexual relationship you've had with me, you had with her and have in the recent past. Today, I texted you that I wish we could have freaked off before you left, by the way. Let's unpack that a little bit, right? She's feeling threatened by Kim. She knows her guy is a horny man, right? He needs sex all the time. And he's going away with a woman that he's had babies with multiple times. She's saying, I don't trust that you're going to be away with this woman and not want to fuck her. Oh, and by the way, I did say I really wanted to freak off before you left. That shows that she's dangling that freak off carrot in her own way to strengthen her argument to get him to do what she wants him to do. She's using sex as the tool here. Not like a woman to ever do that now, is it? And I think in regards to Cassie herself and her testimony, I think this is important because it shows when it suited her and when she felt threatened by other people, she was more than happy to whip out the freak off card and be like, hey, don't forget who your number one freak is, yeah? I wanted more. He wasn't even even mentioning freak offs at all there. He wasn't pressurizing her. She was voluntarily, again, bringing it up because it would help her in that scenario. So this whole thing about he had total control over her and would be the one always pushing the freak offs and she never wanted to do it, which was the way the government set the case out at the start. The more we look into the text messages, the more Cassie, as a witness, becomes less and less credible. And again, I'm not saying she's not a victim. Clearly, she's been beaten up by this guy loads of times, and I think that's horrendous. But specifically, when it comes to her doing these kind of sex acts for him, to say that they are non-consensual at this point, there's just far more evidence to back up that they were than there is to say that they weren't, in my opinion. And specifically, when they're talking to each other about this stuff. And she says afterwards, I'm done venting. Thank you for listening to me somewhat. Hope you don't shut your phone down like you had said you were going to, because that would really break my heart. He replies, I won't. She then says, and you still have no response to what I said about a freak off? She wants him to confirm his excitement for a freak off because she's looking for that security in the relationship. I'll do the kinky thing for you. Just tell me that you want me and not her. So she's trying to manipulate the situation in her own way here. We've also got the previous messages that we read on the last video where she'd claimed that, I was really against doing freak offs, and then we've got the messages here saying, I'm always ready to freak off. I just want it to be uncontrollable. Diddy says, I want to watch you get real hot. She says she can't wait to stare at some big dicks. I can't wait to have my legs cocked back behind my head and feel some dick tease my pussy roll. Cassie continues about what she wants to do to the male escort's penis when she says, I'm thinking about licking those dicks from the balls to the head, then slowly lowering my mouth onto it to let it hit the back of my throat and choke me. Make of that what you will. And then we've got a really long message from Cassie all about how much she loves Diddy, how she feels so loved, safe, empowered since they've come together, how when I'm with you, I'm your woman and no one else's. I feel protected when I'm in your arms, so comfortable that I can sleep and not worry about anything. You're one of the sweetest, most sincere people I've met in a long time, and I cannot express how grateful I am that you've chosen to be a part of my life. Now let's take a look at the final testimony from Cassie, the last bit where the defense are really trying to go for a big finish here to really prove that she's just not a credible witness. One of the things that came out is Cassie texted Diddy while she was with her now husband saying, I'm lost without you. Again, trying to prove, is he this big bad wolf? Why is she doing that? And around this time, she wrote to Diddy, I do love you. I would just prefer not being one of your girlfriends. Let's get up tomorrow night. I'll do studio from 6 till 9. He wrote, can I hold you? Or are you just going to break up with me? Which is weird because she's already with her guy now. She replies, we can embrace, lol. And they ask her, did you have sexual intercourse with Diddy that night? I did. And during that, your now husband FaceTimed you? Yes. Your now husband didn't know you were with Diddy at the time? I don't know what he knew. My God. My God. What kind of fucking relationship must her and her husband have at this stage? Like, Jesus Christ. Did he send her a message saying, you're going to make a beautiful mother, God bless? She said, thank you, God bless. Then Cassie says, we should talk and have closure. Remember the kind of closure you have where she turns up in a nice dress, you go out for dinner in Malibu and her legs are clean shaven. That kind of closure. Diddy replied with a tear face emoji and said, you were my ride or die. Not the kind of messages people send when it's the kind of relationship that was depicted of like only brutality. We've absolutely acknowledged that brutality was a serious part of this relationship and Diddy is a fucking prick for that. But the point I made on the last video was that the only motivating factor? And you see there's a lot of feelings here. And of course there's motivation financially and a lot of things are going on here. For a career, so much is invested in this. But it's not like there's no lovey talk between them. There is. And you'll remember that there was tapes recorded of Cassie doing the freak offs and allegedly Diddy would, threaten to release them or whatever. Well, apparently one of the escorts also had recorded something and someone else had seen it. And Cassie got wind of it. And obviously she was not happy. She said to the guy who told her about it, if you saw a video of someone fucking me, who was fucking me? If you have it, why didn't you show me? The guy replies, because I'm not disrespectful, bro. She says, if you don't show me, I will kill you. I will cut you up. I will fucking kill you. I've never killed anyone in my life. I'm going to fuck you up. It's not going to be blood on my hands. Someone else is going to do it. I'm not playing with you. Tell me. Now, some people might try and use that against Cassie and say, this shows that she can be a violent and threatening person too. And yeah, but like in all seriousness, like I think the circumstances of what she must have been feeling would have brought the worst out in her in that moment. And I think that's fair enough. What is interesting is, who do you think she turned to in her time of fear when she was worried that this was going to get out. What did Diddy say when you told him about the recording? He said he'd take care of it. So it is interesting that, like, when there was a problem that needed to be solved and she's threatening people saying, it won't be blood on my hands, but someone will make sure you lot are fucking dead, she goes running to Diddy as a protector savior type. It shows that the relationship between them was very strange, multifaceted, and diverse. Because this is the guy, she says, is threatening to release tapes of her if she doesn't do what he says. And yet when someone else says, I've got a tape of you, she goes running to the guy who's also threatening her of that. Do you get that? It's complicated. And you could argue that that paints her out to be on the same team as Diddy at that moment. And they also sort of point the finger a bit in regards to the money she received from the settlement. They say, you were going to do a tour, but once you settled your lawsuit, you cancelled the tour, right? Yes. Because you no longer needed the money. That wasn't the reason, she said. It does look like it was the fucking reason. Yeah, I don't really need to work anymore. I'm pretty sorted now. And that's what they need to do. If you're the defense, you want to paint her out like this was all about money for her. The difficulty is when there's that many people coming forward, do you just say that they're all about money? In the modern era, that is still possible, but it's not going to work. You're going to need more than that. Now, they've released images of all of the sex workers who are linked to this trial. And as you can see, you know, all types of dudes, nothing really in common necessarily, aside from probably having massive cocks. But the one thing that is really interesting about these dudes is this guy in the middle here. This guy was involved in a shooting, and when he was arrested, he told them all years ago now that this was all happening.
It's a guy named Jonathan Odie. Jonathan Odie was the guy who came out with all this information about the freak off over 6 or 7 years ago. He ran into Trump's place and shot it up. The feds took him up at one of Trump's headquarters and shot it up. The feds took him into custody. He started telling his story. He told the story about Khaled, Ross, and Diddy, and Cassie. He said that he contracted herpes and other stuff. He sued Puffy and Cassie and them. He threatened to sue them and stuff like that. They wrote him a check for $2 million. This was proven by the federal government because he had zero money in his bank account one day, and 2 weeks later, he had over $2 million, and he bought 2 properties. One property worth $440-some thousand, and another property worth like $800-some thousand. So the man got $2 million from somebody somewhere.
So the next person to take the stand after Cassie was this lady right here, Dawn Richard, or as she likes to be known, Dawn Richard. I think she thinks that makes her sound more exotic, but we all know you're Dawn Richard, pet. The first story she came up with was a story of Diddy hitting Cassie with a skillet, a pan full of eggs. He came downstairs asking where his phone was. Maybe Cassie had been looking through his phone or something. I don't know why, you know, he'd be in a rage, but maybe he's just a fucking lunatic. Who knows? He threw her to the ground and attempted to strike her with a skillet full of eggs. He attempted to kick her. She fell to the ground and went into the fetal position, trying to hide her head. So she witnessed this. It's not just Cassie's word that, you know, she was abused like that, even though we've got CCTV as well. Now, apparently, a day later, Diddy said, look, I know what you're saying, and if you tell anyone, people will go missing. Which, obviously, if he said that means I'm going to kill someone if you speak about this. Maybe you. Now, when they cross-examined her, it was quite interesting because this girl has actually already filed a civil suit to try and get money out of Diddy. So there's a vested interest in her to say as bad as things as possible, right? And they say, has it been hard for you to keep your story straight on this, though? She says, I told it as close as I could. Well, the day after, you said Mr. Combs said people go missing. Yes. Well, let's look back at your interview earlier in the year where you didn't say anything about Diddy saying people go missing. I don't recall that. No worries. Well, let me pull up the documents. Isn't it true that the first time you said this was a week ago? Would you like me to show you your previous interviews? I don't know what I said. That's not the right answer, just to be clear. You said Diddy made a death threat, one that you didn't recall 7 times, which you'd previously been asked about this. Again, they're just trying to diminish her credibility as a witness. And look, I mean, you'd think if someone had threatened your life and you were interviewed that many times about it beforehand, you wouldn't have just remembered it the week before going in to court. She also alleged that celebrities including Usher and Neo were at a restaurant when Diddy punched Cassie in the stomach. They gotta get fucking Usher in this bitch, right? Take the cherries away from the ladies, get yourself into court. What have you been fucking saying, mate? That's what I want to know. Because Diddy and Usher have been like that for years. Usher's got more dirt on Diddy than anyone, by the way. Get him on a lie detector. But apparently, this was the first time that Dawn Richard had disclosed that Usher and Neo and them were there at the time this happened. And they say like, whoa. Why are you only bringing this up now? And she just replied, I'm not sure. Which is like, how could you forget that? Again, in front of the jury, you're just trying to put any doubt you possibly can into their minds. Now, in Dawn's testimony, she complained about working long hours. She said she's seen multiple accounts of violence against Cassie from Diddy, him, on drugs, him having guns, and she painted him out in the light that most people seem to be painting him out in, right? Terrible. And this girl didn't just work with Diddy on one project. She was a part of Danity Kane, the first band that Diddy put her in, but then he put her in another band after that. So she spent a lot of time with Diddy despite all of that. And one of the funny things that they brought up at the end is the songs you released on your own have not reached the level of what you released with Diddy, right? True. And then you reached out to Diddy to try and make more money, right? Yes. So when you've just sat there slagging him off, and then when you did actually go back for more work, didn't you? And you did want to take more money off of him, didn't you? It really discredits what they're saying, in my opinion. And I'm not saying that that's going to be enough for Diddy to be okay. He's fucked. He's fucked, by the way. But like, it's just how fucked. And stuff like that, it can't do his defense any harm. Next on the stand was Kerry Morgan, this little blonde lass here, who was a very good friend for a lot of years to Cassie. She said, we were best friends until her boyfriend assaulted me. So Diddy didn't just hit Cassie, he hit her as well, apparently. He hit me with a wooden coat hanger and choked me. Where did the hanger hit you? Behind the right ear. What did he express concern about? Who Cassie was cheating on him with. So he thought Cassie was cheating, he thought she must have known, and he thought he could get the answers out of her. It is mental how Diddy just acted like the law didn't exist. Like if someone's cheating on you, it's like, it's a bit gutting, you got to accept it, you got to move on. He just sort of thinks, I'm going to smash a hanger off your head, even though it's not even, you're not even the last, you're just a mate, fuck it. There was more accounts from Kerry Morgan on brutality towards Cassie. He hit her, apparently in Jamaica, they were arguing about jealousy. He dragged her by the hair. There's just so much evidence of the domestic violence. It's unbelievable. Now, this girl doesn't speak to her anymore because Cassie didn't support her after Diddy assaulted her. She drew the line there, and that was the end of it after she got a settlement. So this isn't even really a friend of Cassie now. It was someone who was a friend, but now has nothing to do with her. So there is no reason for her to lie about this, really. I think that this gives her good credibility as a witness. She's already been paid off. There's nothing to gain from what she's saying here. Unlike Dawn Richard, who's obviously got to egg it up to the max. Next up, we had David James, Diddy's former PA, who knew a lot about Diddy. He said when he started working with Diddy, he had a lot of girlfriends. There was Kim, Sarah, Tara, Yana, and Cassie. So Cassie was competing here to get that spot, right? It wasn't just like she had it all her own way. And he says in his first conversation with Cassie that she commented, this lifestyle is crazy, which shows she was loving the lifestyle of being with a billionaire. And like, no shit, right? But I think a lot of people have downplayed that as much as possible, as if that wasn't a massive motivating factor for Diddy to be, for Cassie to be in Diddy's life. But it obviously was, especially when he is the way he is, the fact that he's an abusive bastard. You got to balance all of that out somehow in your mind of, is it worth it or not? And when the PA was talking with Diddy, Diddy would say, Kim is my queen. I have Cassie right where I want her. She's young and moldable. Fucking hell. That's massive, in my opinion, because that shows the train of thought Diddy was on. And that does align to a degree with what the prosecution are trying to say, that Cassie was molded into being this. It wasn't what she wanted to be. And I do think in some of the messages that you see from Cassie, you see a yearning, a wanting to be loved by Diddy, to be the main girl, to be that woman for him. And when you're talking about women in general, like men when we're dating women, occasionally you will meet a woman who they don't have that like self-love necessarily, and what they're looking for is your approval. And rather than like being themselves when you meet them, they're just trying to figure out what you want so that they can then try and replicate what that is. And a good man, I'd like to think that I am one, in that scenario will recognize that and go, it's all right, man. You don't have to, just pretend to be what I like. Just be yourself And that's all you have to be. But a psychopath will love that and will exploit that. And I do think that as much as, you know, we've got all of these text messages here from Cassie saying that she was into these freak offs or whatever, to deny an element of Diddy exploiting that side of her personality would be completely disingenuous. This was a very complicated situation. And when we've got people saying Cassie was a victim, Cassie was also a part of it, I think there's a lot of truth on both sides here. One thing that was interesting is that this PA would work 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like, the guy was well overworked, and maybe that'll play into the case later. But he said he didn't witness any violence towards Cassie from Diddy. In fact, this guy, I think, put his hands on a woman at one point, and Diddy actually told him, "You can't be putting your hands on women. He told me to give her a gift." Mental. And this PA was the guy who'd get the medicine bag for Diddy full of Viagra, ecstasy, perks, all of the fucking drugs, and he would even pay for the drugs himself on his own card, so there would be no direct line of transaction from Bad Boy, the actual business, and then he would just be compensated in cash. This is really important when it comes to the criminal enterprise and having, you know, a setup where his associates would be doing his bidding for him. And what's mad is apparently they used to get ecstasy pills shaped like Barack Obama. You didn't expect that when you started this trial, did you? This is why you need to stay subscribed, right? You never know what I'm going to say next. Barack Obama's face. Imagine getting off your face thinking, I'm full of Obama in the fucking hell, mate. Barack probably wishes. That's another video entirely. He did take ecstasy himself at one point, the PA said, and could you say that was Diddy supplying it to him? He was drinking Ciroc, took ecstasy, and apparently he was Diddy bopping. They asked him what that meant. He said vibing. Did you speak to Diddy about it? And apparently Diddy was reviewing the footage of the party because they had a videographer who'd filmed the parties, and he said, "Hey, Playboy, was that you dancing around at the party?" I said, "Yes." He said, "I'm going to keep the video in case I ever need it." Meaning, and then the PA says that I'd be embarrassed. Some people are saying that's proof. That's the blackmail. See? I was like, well, embarrassing dancing, is that really something that he was meaning seriously as a blackmail? Now, during these parties, multiple times jewelry was stolen, and he was forced to take a lie detector or he would have lost his job. So he took multiple lie detector tests. He said it was very intimidating, and they put monitors on my head and my chest and my hand. This is not normal employment. Clearly, like, that is something that we can definitely agree on. He did accidentally witness one of the freak-offs, this guy. Apparently, they asked him to go and get an iPod, and he had a case, so he just let himself in. He walks in, Cassie's on the bed. They ask him, who did you see? He said, "I seen another guy. I didn't recognize him. He was about 5'8" with long hair and had a large endowment." Imagine that. You're just like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, do you know about this, Diddy? Diddy's like, "Nah, it's cool, mate. Don't worry about it." Then up steps Cassie's mother, and this was just a bad one. Oh, fuck it. They didn't even cross-examine her. They just left it. Right, okay, fair enough. The main hard-hitting point that she made was that Diddy had threatened to release a sex tape of Cassie. How did you react? "It made me sick. Diddy had demanded 20 grand. He said to recoup the losses from my husband and myself. Why did you take a loan to pay Diddy? For the safety of my daughter. Look in the binder next to you," said the lawyer. "These are photographs I took of my daughter's bruises from Diddy." And whether or not Diddy was actually going to release the sex tape, I think Diddy is such a sick fuck. He probably wasn't, but this is all to do with just hurting people, and he is just such a fucking piece of shit that alone, I think, is entertainment for him. That's what level of psycho we're dealing with here. He likes to feel powerful. He likes to make people squirm and suffer and struggle. That's why I really want him to get the fucking book thrown at him. Even if I say, you know, the evidence on certain sides is not as great as what we want it to be at times, there's no denying what a piece of shit he is. And that's why they didn't cross-examine her. They were just like, right, okay. Because they could have gone from bad to worse. You get this woman talking about how much her daughter has been hurt, people will empathize, and it's just, you just leave that where it is as best as you can. Then steps up this guy known as the Punisher. What a nickname for a male escort. That's got to get extra business in, I think. So this guy was a male exotic dancer who said he was booked for a striptease for a small group, that when he arrived at Trump Tower, which is where they had the hotel room, he walked in, Cassie was there wearing a bathrobe and nothing underneath, and a wig, apparently. I was expecting a crowd, but there was no one else. She told me me that her and her husband wanted to create a sexual scene with baby oil. Can't forget the baby oil, can we? She handed $800 to him, and the room was dimly lit with electric candles, bowls of water, bowls of baby oil in them. She told me not to acknowledge her husband, not to look at him when he came out. Apparently he came out, he was naked, but he had a mask on so you couldn't see his face. And he was carrying a bottle of lube in case we run out of baby oil. From what we can gather from there, he fucked her. And then towards the end, she went off into the room with Diddy. And when she came back, she asked him if he wanted to finish. How polite of her. I said no. If they were happy, I was happy. What a professional, by the way. There's not many men who'd say no to Cassie in that situation. Probably had more work to do, to be fair. They asked how often it happened. He said between 8 and 12 times. So this was a regular guy. They asked if he recognized her. He said yes, because he was a fan of Diddy and he recognized her off Instagram. Imagine that, right? You're used to like a bunch of rowdy women. Get your kit off, and then all of a sudden like Cassie's in front of you and it's like, yeah, fuck Cassie, man. That's when you think, this is all right, this job, I could get into this. Probably not what I'm supposed to be thinking right now. I get it, it's not the point, but equally you got to explore this from all angles. That's what I give you on this channel. Every angle. I bet you every time you listen to either of their songs, it didn't quite sound the same after that. They asked him, how did he direct you when this was all going on? He said, Mr. Combs might say, sit forward, move the camera. Or what should happen sexually, you know? One time during sex, he just dropped a stack of money and said, I like this shit. The stack of money thing is a problem because remember, this is about him paying people for sex, and provably the guy is saying he literally dropped a whole bunch of money on me right there as I was shagging her. So I mean, that is indefensible, but also very generous. Did Diddy request that you penetrate Cassie? It was a demand, a strong suggestion. Diddy might as well stay in jail now because his rap career is fucking finished, by the way. There's no way you could rap about bitches and hoes when literally this is the way it's going down. You are the bitch. Cassie paid you even when she cancelled, right? Yes, $500. So even when she cancelled, they're getting paid. They then start going down the road of, did Cassie enjoy doing this with you? They asked, you know, you wouldn't dry hump someone who didn't want to be humped, correct? He said, yes, it's important to read the room. So he's saying, I read the room and she wanted me to perform this sort of stuff on her. What made you think Cassie was enjoying herself? It was the first time unprotected. He said, I felt it was enjoyable for both Cassie and Diddy. So that is the second male escort to say, Cassie was enjoying it. And again, you can make of that what you want, right? Some people are never ever going to believe that no matter what messages she sent, no matter what everyone says about the times that she was there, because of that CCTV being so shocking, so traumatic and awful, they can't not look at her like a complete victim instead of a freaky victim who, yes, was a victim of domestic violence, but also kind of was into this sort of stuff. But again, domestic violence is not what this is about. The racketeering conspiracy, did he direct his employees to do illegal shit? I mean, yeah, pretty much. It's definitely looking that way. Transportation to engage in prostitution. Abso-fucking-lutely. He was ferrying them around. Get over here. Come on, have a fucking go. He was getting them from everywhere. The sex trafficking thing, I don't know. It's a difficult one because their relationship was so toxic and complex. That one I'm not sure. And let me know in the comments below. It's so grey, it's so blurry, but there are so many more witnesses coming up that I think we're going to get a really clear picture in the coming weeks. Let me know what you thought of everything in the comments below. If you haven't already, stay subscribed to the True Geordie YouTube channel for more. Like the video and I'll catch you on the next one.